All right, so now we need. I guess it's too late for Musar, so I can't.
You're not doing Musar tonight?
I would like to do Musar, but it's a little late. So, okay, so for the island that missed Musar, the Musar on Friday. So
okay, I'm just running to the milika though, so I'll catch the Daf after. Perfect.
What do you call it? Yeah. Well, anyways, so we just said that to be yaitz the Muslim, it's shara sin. Don't hate anybody, because if you hate anybody, that means for whatever reason that they did anything negative to you, that means you're putting it in. You're not blaming Hashem for it. And you're blaming the friends for it. Meaning you're taking the bechira away, because meaning you're supposed to think that if something bad happened to you because your friend didn't lend you a hammer, so that means Hashem didn't want you to have the hammer. It has nothing to do with your friend. Your friend was just the way that the frustration came. For whatever reason, Hashem did not want you to have it. Your friend has more money than you, so Hashem didn't want you to have the money. There's nothing to be upset about at your friend, etc., etc. So basically, to get upset at any mundane thing that happens, whether it's a spouse or a child or a parent or a sibling, or whatever it is, to get upset at them is by definition a lack of emunah in Hashem. Right? It's an important yesod. It's a very important yesod. Okay, so now we're yod to the mitzvah. I hope, Avrami, that was short enough or long enough for you to make havdalah. Anyways, okay, so now we start the daf. So basically, we're discussing the machlokes issur chalal issur or ein issur chalal issur, right? If you have two issurim, right? So if a guy sleeps with he does yibum to his sister-in-law when he wasn't allowed to, because it was also his wife's sister. So there's two issurim. There's the sister-in-law and there's the wife's sister, right? So there's the sister-in-law and the wife's sister. So does he get two punishments because he did two issurim? He wasn't supposed to do yibum and he did it anyways. So he said it was a machlokes, right? And the machlokes is dependent on whether you say issur chalal issur or not. Then we brought a machlokes, Reb Chiya and Bar Kafra, and they both jumped up and swore that rebbi either held issur chalal issur or rebbi held ein issur chalal issur. Again, seems like Reb Chiya and Bar Kafra have the same machlokes as R Yosi and R Shimon, whether issur chalal issur or not. And there were three scenarios where Reb Chiya and Rebbe both swore. Reb Chiya and Bar Kafra both swore what Rebbe said. The first scenario was a zar, meaning a Yisrael, that worked in the beis hamikdash on Shabbos, right? So he's mechal Shabbos, which he's not allowed to do, and he's also Yisrael, so he's not allowed to work in the beis hamikdash. So is he chayiv twice, or is he only chayiv once? So Reb Chiya had said that he's chayiv twice, and Bar Kafra said he's only chayiv once. Same thing, Balmum, that was tameh, and he worked in the beis hamikdash. So he did two things wrong. A Balmum is not allowed to work in the beis hamikdash, and somebody who's tameh is not allowed to work in the beis hamikdash. So the same machlokes. And then the third one was if a Yisrael eats a bird that was done with melika. Birds were not shechted in the beis hamikdash. They were cut with the thumb of the kohen. So that's really called an aveira. That's not a proper shechita. It's treif for everybody other than the beis hamikdash. So he's a Yisrael who ate it, which he's not allowed to do because it's kachim, and it's also nevela. So these are all ein issur chalal issur. Now there's one more thing. There's three options to when would we say that a issur does go on top of an issur. It could be by issur moisif, which is that the second issur adds on more people to it, right? So we just used an example of something this week. Let's say you had truma of chametz, truma that was chametz. So that's usur before Pesach for Yisrael to eat it. Then comes Pesach, it's usur even for Kehanim to eat it. So there, some would say, you do say issur chalal issur because the additional issur added people on, right? That's one. That's one type. Then there's issur kollel, which is that it's not adding people on, but it's making it a more, what's the word? inclusive?
Yes, inclusive. That's what they use. That's what they use here.
Yeah, so that's where it's just adding more things to it. And then you have whether issur chalul issur, if they both happen at the same exact time. If both issurim start at the same exact time, so there, some will say issur chalul issur. So basically, those are your three options. And we're going to try and figure out what the machlokes between Reb Chiya and Bar Kafra is and whether Rebbe agreed to this or not. So the Gemara says, we start with the Gemara on the top line. Might come if we give. Right? What are they arguing about? The issur kollel, so the Gemara thinks it's whether you say that one issur falls on another issur when you add on more issurim, and they're arguing in Reb Yosi. Right? So Reb Chiya Sava, Reb Yosi, issur kollel, mechayev tarti. Reb Chiya holds that when you add on more people to the issur, so you're going to be chayev twice. Bar Kafra Sava, loy mechayev elachad. Bar Kafra says no. Even when you're adding more people onto the issur, we're still not going to say that there's one issur on another issur, right? So now the Gemara is going to have to go through the three cases and try and figure out, are there additional people being added onto the issur? My issur kollel ikahacha, and what is the issur kollel here? So bishlam a zar. So we understand in case of a zar who goes and works on Shabbos, why there are additional issurim meikara shari b'melacha. From the beginning, meaning from before Shabbos, right? The world started on a Sunday, let's say. So from before Shabbos, the guy's allowed to do malacha. Everybody's allowed to do malacha during the week. But he's not allowed to do work in the beis hamikdash, right? Any regular Yisrael, he's allowed to do on a Sunday. He's allowed to do work at home. He's not allowed to go to work in the beis hamikdash because he's not a kohen. Asila Shabbos, then comes Shabbos. Now, migu the komitzar b'melacha. Now that because he becomes issur to do melacha, right? Because he has to keep Shabbos. It's nami ba'avoida. So he's also going to become issur to do aveira. Meaning, so since now we're adding on Shabbos to him, so therefore we're going to add on. We're adding on an additional issur to him, so therefore there's going to be an additional chiya if he does it, right? So that's fairly straightforward. Again, during the week, he's allowed to do malacha, but he's not allowed to do malacha in the beis hamikdash. Comes Shabbos, in addition to not doing malacha in the beis hamikdash, he's also not allowed to do malacha even out of the beis hamikdash. So therefore, if he does malacha in the beis hamikdash on Shabbos, that's in addition to an additional issur to him doing malacha during the week, and therefore it's going to be two issurim according to Reb Chiya, and according to Bar Kafra is only going to be one, two chiyuvim. Then the next case is bal mum. So somebody who has a mum, a kohen has a bal mum, meikara shari ba'achila. He's allowed to eat kachim, right? For asur ba'avoda, he's not allowed to do avoda, right? Somebody who has a mum, a kohen has a mum, is allowed to eat kachim. He's not allowed to work in the beis hamikdash. It milei. But when he becomes tamei, he's not allowed to eat kachim now either. So now something was added onto him. Migu to come mitzvah ba'achila, since he was issur to eat, mitzvah nami ba'avoda, he's also going to be issur in avoda. So now there's something in addition that he's not allowed to do, and therefore we're going to say he's chayev twice according to Reb Chiya, and he's only chayev once according to the kafra. Ela milika, but milika, again, the case of milika is where he's eating a chicken that was shechted with the thumb. It wasn't shechted, but he was killed with the thumb. So that's two issurim. Yisrael is eating kachim, and he's eating nevela. It comes at the same time. I'm sorry. We find that it comes at the exact same time, but there's no additional issurim. Both issurim come at the same time. So how can we fit that into the machlokes? Ella. So then the Gemara changes the mind, right? We said the word Ella always means that the Gemara is changing pshat. Ella kamiflagi be'issur b'vas achas must be the having machlokes when both isurim come at the exact same time. But leave it to Reb Yosi, and they're both again arguing in Reb Yosi. Reb Chiya Savar, Reb Yosi be'issur b'vas achas mechayev tarti. Reb Chiya holds that Reb Yosi says that when the isurim come at the same time, you chayev twice. Bar Kafra Savar lo mechayev elachado, and Bar Kafra says no, you only chayev once. So Gemara says, so what are the cases? Again, we have to go through the three cases, how they're going to happen. How's the issur going to happen at the exact same time? Meaning, we just got finished saying, Shabbos is mutter for him to do malacha. I'm sorry, during the week, it's mutter for him to do malacha. Right? That issur does not start on him at the same time as is also to do aveira. Right? We just got finished saying the issur malacha on Shabbos. We're talking about, let's say, using the first case. The Yisrael's working in the beis hamikdash on Shabbos. Right? That issur of working in the beis hamikdash didn't start on Shabbos. It was there before. Right? So they didn't come at the same time. How are these coming at the same time? So how do you get vasachas? So this is a lamdisha yeshivisha teretz. I hate to say it like that, but that's right. So zar shashimish b'Shabbos. We're talking about a zar who was working in the beis hamikdash on Shabbos. You're going to icy shtei cyrus b'Shabbos, where he matured. He grew 2 hairs on Shabbos, meaning in the middle of the Shabbos, he was still considered a katan. So then what happened? He became mature, meaning even though he was bar mitzvah already, but he didn't have 2 hairs. So he grew the 2 hairs on Shabbos. The issur of him working in the beis hamikdash and Shabbos came at the exact same time. Right? That's one case. Right? Balmum nami. What about the balmum? Also, going to icy shtei cyrus, but itmile he grew 2 hairs and then he became tamei. The issur of him eating kodshim and him being a balmum came at the exact same time. That's one way. Inami, this last way is a little bit more complicated. Inami shechatach, it's not complicated, it's just a little more shver. How did tuma and balmum come at the exact same time? Shechatach etzboi besakin tameya. Besakin tameya. He cut his finger off with a tamei knife. So the second his finger was cut off, he became tamei and a balmum at the same exact time. Problem with that is why didn't he become tamei right when the knife touched him? Right? Meaning he's still not a balmum when he gets a cut. Somebody gets a cut, he's not a balmum. Balmum means he has to have the whole thing cut off. But right when the knife touches him, he should be tamei.
He brings here the Tosfos Yeshanim that it's just that second doesn't really make a difference.
Right. So that's one teretz. Yeah, that's an interesting teretz, right? What do you mean it doesn't? First of all, what happens if it didn't happen so fast? But I guess that's what he's learning. It got chopped off, chick-chock, right? Right.
Don't we have Tarch Kedei Dibur or something like something?
I'm saying we work Tarch Kedei Dibur with Tumah.
I don't know.
No, but that's no. But also, if the finger's cut, it's not a problem. It's when it's cut off.
Right, but that's going to take time.
So the knife is already touching him. Meaning, if you just cut the finger a little bit, that makes him a balmum. It's only when you cut the piece off.
Yeah. Right. So then it doesn't come at the same time. Right. So Tosfos Yeshanim is saying that it happens close enough that it's okay. So the bottom Tosfos, don't get nervous. It's one of those 10-word Tosfos. Right. It's easy to find too because it's on the bottom line. So Tosfos says it was already hanging by a thread, his finger. Right. Right. It's not talking about where it started, right? That's a pasha de teretz, right?
Isn't that a little shver? Like it was 90% cut off already, and he just took the knife and cut it off.
Right. He figured he might as well. I don't know. Maybe we need an EMT or something. I don't know. Would somebody do that? Cut it off in order to put it back on? Maybe. Whatever it is, it got cut with a tamei knife in the hospital. Let's say.
Where would that come in issur Shabbos? Cuticles or nails? Hangnails?
No, this is not a Shabbos thing. This is not Shabbos. This is Tumah.
No, I'm saying
I was going to say it's a makibah right there.
That's true.
Right.
Literally.
Well, besides that, if in issur Shabbos this would be like a cuticle and mutter to remove, why wouldn't it already be a balmum? He's already a balmum as long as it's hanging.
He's already a balmum.
It's as if it's off.
Oh, I don't know. Is
like
that the way it works with a balmum?
No, but if the cuticle is considered off already, that's why removing it isn't a melika. So if this is like that, then removing the last thread isn't anything.
True, but I don't know. I don't know.
Already
I don't know if that's true.
Why not?
Ich weiß nicht. I don't know. Is that called Balmum? I don't know the dinam of Balmum. I don't know what dinam I know, but I know I don't know Balmum. That's for sure. I mean, from this Taisus, it's mashmanat. That's for sure, right? Okay. Anyways, so those would be the three scenarios of them happening all at the same time. Fine. So now we found a scenario that Bar Kafra and Reb Chiya are having machlokes, what Rebbe said in the opinion of R Yosi, whether we say issur chalal issur when both issurim happen at the exact same time, right? Fine. So now I'm going to ask Bishlam of the Rebbe Chiya ki asni ladidei aliba the Rebbe Yosi. So when we're saying that the machlokes is going in what Rebbe Yosi's opinion is, so ki asni lebar kafra aliba the Reb Shimon. So then, when Bar Kafra said that Rebbe said that you only chayav one, he must be Rebbe saying it according to Reb Shimon, right? Hello Bar Kafra, but according to Bar Kafra, that Reb Yosi always that Reb Yosi holds that it's one. So Reb Chiya shkurei kamashakar, so must be that Reb Chiya must be lying. Again, Reb Chiya got up and made a shavua, right? There's no way to work it out according to Bar Kafra that there's anybody that holds. Reb Shimon for sure holds only one, right? The shaila is Reb Yosi. So we're saying that Reb Chiya holds that it's also only going to be one. If you're saying that Rebbe's only going to hold one, so there's nobody for Rebbe to be going with. He can't be going like Reb Shimon because Reb Shimon holds for sure it's only one issur, and Reb Yosi he's saying also holds one issur. So that means that Reb Chiya, when he jumped up and said that Rebbe, I promise you that Rebbe said you only chayav one, that means Rebbe's lying, right? Because there's no way to understand it. Meaning they're trying to have a machlokes what Rebbe said. So as long as you can figure out that there's a Tana that holds that you'd be chayav, because Reb Chiya says you chayav twice. As long as there's another Tana that holds twice, so it could be at one shir Rebbe said that he said pshat in Reb Shimon, so he said you chayav one. And one shir he said pshat in Reb Meir and Reb Yosef, right? And that it's Reb Yosi that it's two. But if according to Reb Yosi, there's no scenario where you'd be chayiv two, so then there must be Rebbe was lying. So that can't be pshat because
Why can't Rebbe be a third shita?
Rebbe himself.
Yeah.
I think because we're trying to figure that they're arguing in shitas. Yeah, I don't know why Rebbe can't be his own shita, right? But Ella, so kamiflige. So then we change pshat. Ella kamiflige be'issur bas achas v'aliba de Reb Shimon. So now they're having the machlokes of the bas achas according to Reb Shimon, which means that the Gemara's kasha just asked is going to ask it again, because Bishlam el Reb Chiya kameshtava lafugi Reb Shimon. The reason why he got up is to swear to exclude that we don't hold a Reb Shimon. El Bar Kafra, what did he have to swear for? Right? Because according to him, Reb Shimon holds that when the issur come, the issurim come at the same time, right? Then it's no different than when the issurim come at different times, right? So Reb Bar Kafra is not saying any chiddush. So why do you have to make a shvua? So kasha, we say that's a kasha. But then the Gemara has the same kasha it said before. Bishlam lebar kafra ki asni Rebbe lididei alib de Reb Shimon. When Rebbe learned or taught Bar Kafra that you only chayav one, he was going called Reb Shimon. Ki asni Rebbe Chiya alib de Reb Yosi. And when he was teaching Reb Chiya, he said pshat like Reb Yosi. El Reb Chiya. But now, according to Reb Chiya, Bar Kafra shkurei kamashaka. Bar Kafra is a liar, right? I mean, it's a question: Is Bar Kafra lying according to Reb Chiya? Because there's nobody to hold like, right? There's nobody for Rebbe. There's no way to justify Rebbe saying two or one, according to Reb Chiya. So I'm like Reb Chiya, ki asne Rebbe lididei, right? When Rebbe taught him, Tarti Liptur Asniye, he told him that there's two Pturim, right? Meaning he told him that two of the three cases that they were talking about. Right, again, there were three cases here. There was the Zor on Shabbos. There was the Tuma, the kohen that was tummy and a balmum. And then there was the guy eating milika. So when Rebbe taught Reb Chiya, he told them two of them are potter on Amud beis now. The issur kollel asne, and he was teaching him issur kollel, where we add in, when you add in more cases, that's when we're going to say, the issur. Valiba the R Shimon, and it's going according to R Shimon. So the bar kapara literally means he saw, but what it means, he understood in the case of the zar eating the bird that was shechted, right? Because that's issur kollel, right? I'm sorry, that's at the same time. That was at the same time because we said the same issur comes at the same time. But I did the damila or rabadai, and since it was similar to the cases, so he mixed it in with the rest of the cases. Then he looked into it. The only way he could find that the milika would work is if it went at the same exact time. He says, okay, so if that case is b'vasachas, then the other two cases are also coming at the exact same time. And we said that Rebbe said that you're potter on the second issur, you're not going to get punished. So too, the other two cases also going to be potter, right? Meaning, just like Rebbe said that by milika there's only one chiya, right? Even though that both issurim came at the exact same time, so he must have said the same thing by the other two cases. So that is the machlokes. Again, they're arguing by issur kollel and going at and it would come at the same time, and according to Reb Shimon's shita. Fine. So then they want to ask.
It's an amazing differential here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're arguing in Shita's Rebbe. Reb Chiya holds about kafra is wrong, and about kafra holds that Reb Chiya is wrong. But lying, they can't be. They're wrong, but they can't be a liar.
Correct. We can't. Yeah. I mean,
it's an interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and also because they made shvuas, so they have to look. You can't have it. You can't have it that they made a shvua. Although I saw someplace that it would not be called a shvua. They would not be called liars making a shvua sheker.
No, because they believe they were right.
Correct. This was not. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting point. If they were wrong, they would not be called a shvua sheker because they were swearing that this is what they heard from Rebbe. The shvua sheker would be if they made it up. They're not making it up. They heard this from Rebbe. Now the question is, what did Rebbe mean? Right? But that's not a shvua sheker. Fine. So now they're going to ask Meisvei, Zar Shashimish B'Shabbos.
Can I ask why they would make shavuos on this? This isn't like a shavua worthy question. They're just trying to figure out halacha. This isn't like I thought we were supposed to be very careful about what we make shavuos on, and this is. I can't imagine why this would be a proper way to do it.
Because they want to really show that their what they heard was correct, and they want to stand behind it.
Okay,
that's what it seems. They wanted to make sure they stood behind exactly what they heard. So nothing better than a shvua to do that. Right.
Yes.
That's the only. I guess that's the only way I could think shot.
Would you say that if one heard it from Rebbe at one time, someone else heard it from Rebbe another time, it's possible Rebbe told one person one thing and one person another. But maybe they're both in the same share the day Rebbe taught it, and that's really what they're arguing. One says, "I swear this is what he meant," and the other one says, "I swear that's what he meant." It could be understanding.
It could be you're right. It could be you're right that's what each one is. Listen, we have this from Ramosha Feinstein all the time. You got one Talmud says one thing, another Talmud says another thing. You have it from different things. But it's besides for the concept of paskening differently. They say it must not be that they're getting involved with, he must have paskened for this person this way because Shasat Chak. or whatever. Because first of all, he's just paskening punishments. He's not paskening what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. It's just right now, at least. It's just the Gemara is going to change it in a minute, whatever, a little further down. But right now, it's just a matter of punishments, right? So I don't know So in the first part, I think you're correct. It couldn't be that they're arguing that maybe he said one thing to one person, but you're right. Maybe it's happened in the same shir. It happens even from the halacha texts. People come out with different things. It's Pella. And I try and word it the least confusing. I guess I'm not so good at it. Sometimes people say, "Oh no, he meant this," and then another guy meant what? Okay, I'm saying everybody's got their way. Everybody got their way. But anyways, okay. So Meisvei. So now we're going to ask Kash on this. So Zor sheshimish b'Shabbos. So you have again the Yisrael working in the beis hamikdash on Shabbos. Ubalmum sheshimish b'Tumah, and a kohen who's a balmum. And he's also Tomei, and he's working in the beis hamikdash. Yesh kam mashum zaros and mashum Shabbos. So you have, in both cases, you have, the first case, you have, he's a zar, a Yisrael working in the beis hamikdash, and you have a Shabbos issur, umashum balmum, ubashum tumah. And you have the issur of balmum and tumah. Divrei Rabbi Yosi. That's what Rabbi Yosi says. Shimon oimer, ein kan el mashum zaros balmum bilvad. You only have zaros and balmum, right? But because you don't have you're not going to have the first case. Ve'ilu milika, shiara, or shira. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. Ve'ilu milika shira. He left out, right? He left out the case of milika, meaning that they're not arguing, right? Meaning he's going through where the machlokes between Rabbi Yosi and Reb Shimon is, but he says that they're arguing in both. Balmum, the case of balmum, and the zar in the beis hamikdash. But what about milika? So now, Laman Sharia, who is he? Why is he leaving that out? If you're going to say he's leaving it out because of Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yosi is a kollel mechayev shtayim. If Rabbi Yosi holds that when you add on more people to the issur, you're chayev too. The issur b'vas achas mibai. Do you need to say where they come at the same time? Meaning, if one issur comes later, Rabbi Yosi says you're chayev twice. So if they come at the exact same time, for sure he should be chayev twice because one wasn't before the other. Meaning when you say ein issur chal al issur, one issur doesn't fall on another issur. So if Rabbi Yosi says if it didn't come at the same time, it is chal, right? So then kol shekain, if it comes at the same time, you're going to be chayev twice because we don't even know which one came first. They came at the same time. Elolav, the Reb Shimon, it must be that the Tana is saying it because Reb Shimon wouldn't say his din. Issur kollel hu de potter, and maybe Reb Shimon only says when the issur comes later that it's potter from two. Al issur v'asachas mechayev. But if it happens at the exact same time, it's going to be chayev. Tiyufta de bar kafras, and that would shlag bar kafra, who said that he always, Reb Shimon always is going to say that you only chayev one. So tiyufta, so then we shlag him up. Right? So the bottom line is we disprove bar kafra, and we're going to come out that there are times that a person can be chayev twice. Right? Certainly bevas achas, a person is going to be, well, we have to figure out how to do it between Rabbi Yosi and Reb Shimon, but between Reb Chiya and bar kafra, Reb Chiya seems to be the correct one. Now, what's with his shvua? So I don't know. Right? Fine. So then zar sheshimish b'Shabbos b'mai. So we said that a zar is working on Shabbos in the beis hamikdash. What melacha did he do already? If he shechted an animal on Shabbos, shchita b'zar k'sheira. A zar is allowed. A Yisrael is allowed to do shchita. After shchita, he's not allowed to do anything. But shchita itself is kosher for Yisrael. And if he's the one that caught the blood and moved it and brought it to the base into the mizbeach, tiltil va'amahu. All that is carrying, which is the rabbanon muksa, right? So this is the rabbanon. So there's no chiyav kares over here.
Why is it muksa? I mean, besides the fact that we're talking about Reb Shimon, why is it muksa?
Right. I don't know if this is Reb Shimon. It's both. Yeah,
but according to Reb Shimon, it's not even muksa. But even according to Reb Yosi, why is it muksa?
Why not?
Because he's a zar, something can be muktzah for one person and not for another. It has to get from point A to point B. That's a chiya of braysa.
Correct.
So it's muktzah for him because he's a zar?
Yeah.
Why?
You want to say it's a raya that one thing muktzah for one person and muktzah for another? Maybe.
At least that. But why is it muktzah?
Because he's not, it's muktzah for him.
But that thing has a purpose on Shabbos.
But not for Yisrael.
The thing itself.
But not for Yisrael.
Because he can't do the aveira.
Yeah.
Because I can't do the aveira. Why does that make something muktzah?
So that's what you're getting to the same thing. There's somebody who's sick. Can he ask somebody who's not sick to bring him medicine, or is the medicine muktzah?
No, this is even better than that. The medicine was bad to muktzah. There was a heter to the muktzah because the person was sick.
This is also bad to muktzah.
No, it's not.
Why
Why
not?
is it muktzah? Because it has to go. It has to get from the animal to the mizbeach.
Right.
Torah says it has to go. There's no issur muktzah here. Besides for shvus b'hamikdash. Besides for shvus b'hamikdash.
No, I think it still would be muktzah. Right?
Why isn't it like food?
Why is it like?
Said it's not muktzah. Why is it not like food?
Well, you could also ask a different question, maybe from Rashi's there. Who said the whole issur muktzah was even created?
That too. Yeah.
Okay, so you can say it's not, whatever it is. The Gemara's kasha still applies, right? The bottom line is there's no issur. You want to say it's not even muktzah. Good. So then the Gemara's kasha still stands, right? Meaning he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, it's a Tosfos. I'm looking at the thing in the Tosfos and Sukkah. You got to look in the Tosfos and Sukkah. Tosfos and Sukkah discusses it, why it would be muktzah. But anyways, so then what? So it's only muktzah, so that's not a problem. Iba aktara, and if because maybe he brought the carbon. Rabbi Yosi havara l'lav yatzasa. Rabbi Yosi holds that havara. Remember we had this before, that the only one of the lamites malachas. First of all, lamites malachas are not mentioned in Gemara anyways. But even if it is, there's only one. It's not, but there's only one issur that the Gemara specifies has a chiya, and that's burning. That's turning on fire, right? So there's a machlokes. What that's why it was what do you call it? Why it was singled out? Why was it singled out? Right. So either it's to tell you that you have you're chayav a kafras for each and every one of the lamites malachas, or it was just to tell you that one gets a lav and it's not kafras. So Rabbi Yosi holds that it's only a lav. So even if this Yisrael went and brought the carbon and he burned it, he still would not be chayav as kafras. So how come what exactly is the scenario where the Yisrael is coming into the beis hamikdash and he's chayav twice, chayav for Shabbos and chayav for doing the beis hamikdash? We can't seem to find what issur that he could possibly have done that happens at the same time. Right? Obviously, he could have tied his shoe in the beis hamikdash, but that's not coming at the same time. So that's not what applies. I meant to say, all right, that's true. But he could have untied. Let's say he untied it to go in. Okay, I'm sorry. Right, he untied it to get into the beis hamikdash. Right, so that's a melika, but it had nothing to do with this. It didn't come at the same time. So then, what is the scenario? So Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, the shchitas paroi shel kohen gadol. He shechted the par of the kohen gadol on Yom Kippur. Right, the par of the kohen gadol, he was not allowed to shech. Divrei Aimer shchitas paroi shel kohen gadol b'zar psula. The shchita of a kohen gadol, that the Yisrael is not allowed to shech the par, the special par that the kohen gadol brings in Yom Kippur. Yisrael is not allowed to shech. So the Gemara says, "Ihachi ma'ir yizar afilu kohen had yunami." According to this opinion, even a kohen, a regular kohen, is not allowed to shech this part of the kohen gadol. Only a kohen gadol could, right? So Gemara's answer, no, that means shazar etz loy kamar. It means like somebody who's a stranger to the kohen gadol. So anybody who wasn't allowed to shecht it. So that's what it's referring to. It's referring to shechting the kohen gadol's para on Yom Kippur. So therefore, use two issurim come at the exact same time. Maskul Rav Ashi asked, Midi chatoyas katani? Are we dealing with chatoyas here? Right? Oi lavi katani? Or we're dealing with lavim? Eli issuri ba'almaka chashiv. All we're trying to do is talk about issurim. So it doesn't make a difference if it's a issur lav, it's a issur karis, or it's an issur. We're talking about ein issur chal al issur. Why are we saying one issur falls on another? So it doesn't. They both don't have to be karis. The Gemara's assumption in these last few lines that they both have to be karas, right? It doesn't, or with dealing with the punishment, doesn't have to be. It says ein issur chalal issur. It could be a lav, it could be a derabanan, it could be whatever it is. Are we going to say that the person did 2 issurim and no 2 issurim? So who cares whether they happened in the beis hamikdash, how it happened? Saying, well, ask, okay, well then lamai nafkamina. So then, if we're not talking about chatos or malchus, we don't care what the punishment is, and then what's the difference, right? Everybody's going to be minded that the guy is doing something wrong. Right? The only difference, ein issur chalal issur, has to do with punishments. If you're saying that it has nothing to do with punishments, it just has to do with issurim, so what is the difference? Right? If he goes and asks a shayla, if a Yisrael wants to go into the beis hamikdash and shecht on Yom Kippur, they're going to tell him you can't do it, buddy. Right? So the whole thing has to be punishments. You can't say that, oh, what does punishments make a difference? So then, like we said before, no. So that it really makes a difference when this guy dies. Where are we burying him? Right? Are we burying him in the not so bad cemetery, or are we burying him in the bad guys cemetery? Right? Because they had two levels of cemeteries. They had the good, well, 3. They had the good guys, they had the half bad guys, and then they had the real bad guys. Right? So the question is, do we bury him in the real bad guys or only the quasi bad guys cemetery? Right? So that would be the nafkamina. So that means the bisman hazeh, there's no nafkamina. Right?
I'd love to know back then how many people were buried in the good guy cemetery.
I would like to think a lot, but I don't know. Because you're right.
They were Amaratzim. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, how do you become eligible for the bad guy cemetery? Does it need to be Aiden? Does it need to be Hasra? Do you need all that?
Yeah, I was thinking that also, but we had the last Gemara that brought this. It was after they had Mrs. Bezdin. Right. Mrs. Bezdin is mechaper. Why do they still get buried in Rishon Demurim?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how this whole Rishon.
Maybe that's part of the kapara.
What?
Maybe that's part of the kapara.
No, because the Torah says the Mrs. mechaper. Kavura is not mechaper.
Yeah. I don't know.
This whole sugya is trying to figure out what you can't have 2 punishments at the same time. We have a whole masechta in Makos that talk about eat a bug, you're over on 8 lavim at once. I mean,
so that's
there are lots of different places. So
that's a good question.
What are we trying to figure out?
So we had. I'm going to sound educated now, but I'm not educated. I just remember we had a toisvis somewhere. Well, I think when we discussed it, I have no recollection where we had it. But I hope I'm saying this correctly, where this whole ein issur chalal issur is only going when you're doing 2 different things wrong. But when there's a bunch of issurim that fall on one object, then it's not a problem. Meaning the zar who's shechting the thing on Shabbos, he's doing 2 separate issurim that happen to be on one object, right? But when you're eating a bug, so you could have an issue because it's flying, and it's because it's alive, and it's because it is, because that. Those are different. Those are not. It's the same issue for eating one bug. I don't know. Am I saying it over correctly? Meaning, if they piled it up on you, and it fits into those parameters, then it's fine. But here he would be chayiv for shechting it outside the beis hamikdash, and he'd be chayiv for shechting it inside, meaning 2 different things. They happen to be falling out on one. Right? I think it was a toisvis. I have no recollection where it was.
It's wherever the sugya of kohen that plowed on.
No, we had it in the daf. We had it in the daf.
Yeah, in the daf. We had that. I think it was in Yuma. Where we had the Gemara about a kohen who was plowing kilayim on Yom Kippur.
I don't know. I think I might have it in my notes somewhere, but I don't know. I'll look later. I remember it was on Amud beis, and it was a pretty easy toisvis. That's because I understood it. So Mamela, okay, whatever it is. Let's just see the Mishnah. Tomorrow's daf is the next couple of blot are Beli and Hara, quite easy but quite graphic. So I don't know if that will keep everybody coming on tomorrow night. Be'ez Hashem, Sunday before Pesach is not an easy time to learn, but quite graphic. But it's a vacation compared to what we've been learning. Anyways, You could just imagine, just from this Mishnah, what it's going to be. Shnayim shekichu shtei noshim. You have two guys, right? Don't get nervous. It has nothing to do with yibum, right? Two guys get married to two women. Ubeshas knisasan lechuppah, and then when it's time to go to the chuppah, hichlifu es shel zeh lezeh. They swapped. Okay. Now, what's going to happen with the whole Gemara is, did they swap on purpose, or they happen to have been swapped on them, like with Leah and Rachel, right? But whatever it is, they got swapped. There's Shalzeh Lazeh, and this one got mixed up with this one. They're both going to be chayiv because they married an Eshes Ish. Again, back then they did Kiddushin first. Once you do Kiddushin, right? Chuppah is the second stage. Once there's Kiddushin, they're already married, and then they got swapped. Vim hoyu achim. And if they're brothers, then they're going to be chayiv in addition to Eshes Ish. They're going to be chayiv also because they're also marrying their brother's wife. Vim hoyu achoyes. And if it was two sisters, b'shum isha alachoysa, they're also going to be chayiv for an isha alachoysa. Vim hoyu nidas. And if they also were nidas, then b'shum nida, then they're going to be chayiv because of nida too, right? So this is exactly the case that you were asking about, right? Here they're going to be chayiv. There's no issue. They're going to be chayiv 4 times theoretically because that just happens to be that the issur, they're not doing two separate issur. Well, right? It's all one. No, but it's more than that. It's all in the one. It's one maisa and one person. It just happens to be that they got added on.
I don't understand the need part.
Okay.
They were supposed to get married.
That's every month. Every month, a woman becomes a nida.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much. No, she was supposed to get married that night. She just got married to the wrong person. I'm saying things were scheduled.
Right. But they happen to have been nidas. You could get married. That you could get married.
And if they didn't switch, they'd still be chayiv on nidas.
You could have thrown it on Yom Kippur too. What's the issur on Yom Kippur?
Ashmish.
Oh, Yanachanami.
So I'm saying if they didn't switch,
the neither part is not negaya here. It's not part of the whole.
I hear. Anachanami parrots. I hear. What are you saying, Mr.?
So I'm saying if they didn't switch, they'd both be chayav on nidas anyway.
Correct. That's true. You're right.
It has nothing to do with the switching.
Correct. Right. Nothing to do with that. That part has nothing to do with the switching. Right. That's a good point. Yeah. That's what
also, the chuppah. Shas knisas on the chuppah doesn't.
Yeah, I was saying, what was it doing? Nothing to do. Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing. Shas knisas on the chuppah. Why they over on? But no, because it has to be an issur bia. They just got swapped before the chuppah. That's all. Got swapped before the chuppah.
Yeah, but the chuppah has nothing to do with anything.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Why does it say that?
Nisuin doesn't need to come in here, even after Eris.
It has to be bia. It has to be bia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Interesting. Yeah, why does it have to say chuppah? Anyways, okay. And then, so now what happens? Now that they botched it up, so now what happens with these ladies? So the mafrisha noisan shloisha chadashim, we separate them from these wives or mixed up wives for 3 months. Shemamu barasin, because maybe they got pregnant. Now, if we're going to let them go marry somebody else, then you have no idea who the father is. So you got to separate them for 3 months in order to see if they're pregnant yet, right? Which is the din stam. A woman who gets divorced is not allowed to marry anybody for 3 months because if she becomes pregnant, we have no idea who the father is. Right? Don't start with DNA. We're not getting involved in the DNA now whether it changes nowadays. Right? The imhayu katanas, but let's say they were katanas, she'en and riyos leile, that they can't have kids, machzir nois and miyad, then they can go back to their original husbands. And there's no concern. Bimhayu kahenas, and if they were kohanim, meaning they were daughters.
Not if they were sisters.
What?
Not if they were sisters.
Why?
They can go back to the other brother?
Yeah, because the thing, so we're going to see. We're going to have to see what in the Gemara, what was going on here. Was it on purpose?
This was they were ma'anis them?
That's what the Gemara is going to ask. That's what the Gemara is going to ask. We'll do the next. So let's wait to the Gemara for a second. Okay. Yeah. Nifsalu minat truma, and if they're daughters of kohanim, then they're going to be puzzled from truma, right? Because if they're kohanim, then a kohen is not allowed to in einis. Meaning normally, if a woman married to a Yisrael gets raped, so she's allowed to stay with her husband. But if the husband's a kohen, she can't. So then, of course, she's going to come puzzle from truma because once she's not allowed to go back to her husband, she's not allowed to eat truma anymore, right? So that's what the Gemara is saying. Okay, that we're going to see by during a couple of blocks. So zog the Gemara, frek the Gemara. We'll just go a couple of lines. Yeah, Ichlifu. What do you mean they switched? Midi b'rishaya askinon. Are we talking about rishayim here? That they swapped wives before the wedding, right? V'su hadatani Reb Chiya. This the Reb Chiya said. Harei kan sheish esrei chatois. You have 16 chatois here in the Mishnah, right? Because you have 4 people, right? Because there's 2 men, 2 women. Each one is over on 4 aveiras, right? Eishes ish, eishes ach, achais isha, and nida, right? So altogether you have 16. So ibe mezid. So if we're talking about mezid, milika carbon, there's no carbonus, right? So why are we saying that they're chayav achatas? So I'm Rabbi Yehuda, Tani huchlafu, not that they switched, they got switched, meaning by mistake. So then Gemara says, Hachanam mistaven, that has to be pshat. The katani seifam, how you katanas, if they were less than 12 years old, she'ein and ruyas leila, that they can't have kids, machzir naisam yad, you give them back immediately. Be b'mezid, be shari. We're talking about where they did it on purpose. Are you allowed to go back to your husband? You were mezana. You can't go back to your husband, right? Yeah. So fine. So then the Gemara says, Holoi Kasha. Gemara says, no, that would not necessarily be a proof. Pitui Ketana Einis Ninu. A guy who coerces a Ketana, that's the equivalent of Einis. Meaning the Einis be Yisrael Mishrashari. And if by Yisrael, if somebody was an Einis, that is going to be mutter. So therefore, it's not necessarily a raya. Ella, the Ketani Mafrishan Eisan Shloisha Chadashim, we say you separate them 3 months. Shema mubaris, and maybe they're pregnant. Halav mubaris, but if they're not mubaris, sharian. If they didn't get pregnant, then they're going to be mutter. Be amazing, be sharian. If they did it on purpose, are they allowed to get married again? So we heard from this that it must be that they were switched by mistake. Shmamino, that's what we're talking about. So again,
you said they're katanas. We said they were katanas.
Right, that's what it's saying. So
then why the 3 months? And they're obviously not katanas.
No. The katanas don't have. No, there's 2 cases in the Mishnah. There's regular and then there's katanas. So the regulars have to wait 3 months. Katanas can get married right away.
Right, but we wanted to know. We said
right. So we thought the raya would be from the katanas. So we said no. Katanas is considered einis. So then that's not considered. It could be that it was done on purpose too. It's just by katanas it's considered einis, right? Meaning a katana that gets coerced to be married, that's considered ma'anis. So then we said, okay, we'll go with the gadol. We'll go with the gadol. And the gadol is talking about where they were switched by mistake. Now we had learned, I don't know, I'm just talking out loud now. You can sign off if anybody don't want to get confused. I'm a little confused because we had learned, a bunch of blot ago, that if a woman, her husband goes overseas and then she's told that he dies and she gets remarried, and then the husband shows up, so midrabanan, she cannot go back to her first husband, even though the second marriage was nullified because she was a married lady. We learned many times, right? Somebody's mekadesh and isha who's married, the chidushin is not chal. But we said that there's an issur d'rabbanan for her to go back to her husband. But I think there was only because we wanted her to do her due diligence, try to make sure that her husband was dead. So I guess here there's no chashash of that. Okay. Fine, we'll stop here. Good Tvach, everybody. And happy cleaning. Happy cleaning. Yeah.
Do you have all the halachas of Hagala?
Good Tvach. Make up dollar now. Make up dollar. I brought me you too.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are you saying?
Do you have all the halachas Hagala on your Pesach cheat sheet?
It's on tystein.com, always available.
Okay, yeah. I have to look. Okay.
Oh, man, you want me to send it to you? I can send it to you.
No, I can get it. It's fine. An order of things.
I think he wanted to send it to him.
Hey.
Okay. What are you saying?
The order you should do them in. Also on the thing?
What do you mean the order?
What should I do first? The stove, the sink, the counter.
Oh, it makes no difference. There's no order. Do whatever you want. No, yeah.
I hear. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Fine. Okay, good luck.
Good luck. Good luck.